Joining us this morning is former U.S. Attorney Bud Cummins. Bud, what is your take on this investigation? Because, again, it does seem serious.
Well, and anytime the FBI is looking into matters that involve you, it's serious. I think we need to be fair here, just like we wish that the media would be fair with the president and in other matters. The FBI is investigating a transaction. If that leads to Jane Sanders, so be it. But they're going to follow the facts, and so apparently there's some questions about the documentation on this loan application, and they're going to take a look at that.
Now, one of the things that I've been hearing is people are questioning whether or not this is going to impact. Is this really about Bernie Sanders or is it about his wife? And there's people who are saying it's unfair to say that this is about Bernie as much as it is her. How would you respond to that?
Well, I don't think any of us know if Bernie was involved in this loan application. Again, if they follow the facts and they look at the transaction and see who signed the application and who made representations that may not have been truthful, that's going to lead them to the people that are involved. If Bernie Sanders was involved in that process, then he was. If he wasn't, he wasn't. If Jane Sanders was involved, she was. But investigations really, we've been playing these word games on TV here for weeks about who's under investigation and who's not. You investigate transactions, you investigate events. The facts lead you to people that are responsible if there's crimes that have occurred. You don't start by investigating a person. And, you know, of course, that's the big concern we all have about an independent counsel. Once they get in place, they seem to be looking under every rock at a person, and they need to just follow facts and transactions. And that's, I'm sure, what the FBI, this is kind of meat and potatoes for the FBI, bank fraud, and they ought to be able to go through this as they normally do.
Yeah, but do you think this is just another thing that's leading to a bunch of the distractions that are happening in the Democratic Party? And what can the Democrats do to start to deflect? Because we've seen tons of disarray in their party over the last few months, and they're 0-5 in all the special elections, which, you know, were mostly Republican regardless. So do you think this is just another distraction for them, and how can they handle this and manage their message going forward?
Well, you can see that Senator Sanders has tried to turn it into almost a political issue, and as if, you know, but for his candidacy, nobody would care. But people do care when $10 million gets loaned out and not paid back, and I imagine it would have come around. As far as the Democrats, they're definitely in disarray. This is just one piece of it. They've got a lot of problems. They've tried to make hay out of attacking the president, but the people, what they seem to be missing is the people out in the country really don't care about those things. What they care about are jobs, fair taxes, affordable health care, and they really, frankly, I don't think care what the FBI is doing today. They'll care if somebody gets indicted, they'll care if somebody gets convicted, but they don't pay a lot of attention to this stuff.
Yeah,
and the Democrats need to get a different message. Just
a reminder to the Democrats that investigations are a two-way street. They don't just go in one direction. And turning to that, another investigation that we talk about daily, the alleged Russia election meddling. White House Press Secretary Sean Spicer praised President Trump over the weekend for his suggestion that there were tapes of his conversations with former FBI Director James Comey. Spicer says that the president's intent all along was to clear his name in the probe. Listen to this.
He knew that the truth would come out, and I think he's glad that the truth is coming out, that he had said very clearly that on 3 occasions he was told that he wasn't under investigation, there was no obstruction, and he was right. And I think that having Director Comey come out and admit it under oath and testimony proves that the president was right.
Well, except for that original tweet about the alleged tapes, which don't exist, Bud, that actually ultimately led to a special counsel being appointed. But I want to get your thoughts.
Well, again, it's just incredible to me that people in this town and on these networks can spend so much time playing these word games. Anybody could read the president's tweet with common sense. He didn't claim to have tapes. He said, "You better hope I don't have tapes," and maybe it did keep Comey's testimony within certain boundaries, but he never said he had tapes. But gosh, how many hours of television and analysis have gone into questioning the president claimed he had tapes. He didn't claim he had tapes. He said there better not be tapes. The word games about what investigation means and who's under investigation And you know, what the president said in a tweet are pretty amazing to me. And I think, again, they're missing the big issues and focusing on these little word games.
Lee?
I've got to say, I have been
Since Lee's game is words, but so
I make a living on words. I love words, but what
Words
I have
matter.
Found, they matter a lot. We've been tracking how people are reacting to Trump speaking directly to the people, whether it's through Twitter or going out on these big events that he's been doing, like he did in Iowa last week. And one of the things that I've been hearing from his supporters and many people who are just out there trying to hear is that they'd like to hear directly from Donald Trump. They like his tweets. In fact, many people have defended this particular one, saying, look, he was smart. He might have been baiting him a little bit, but he was out there saying, like, the truth's going to come out. And so he taunts people a little bit, and a lot of people really, really like that. So I find it fascinating. How do you respond to all the tweets?
Well, if I were his lawyer, I'm sure I would be losing sleep every day over the tweets. But you know, in the net, I think they're very effective. And sometimes, frankly, he tweets something and makes me kind of scratch my head. And why did he say that? But as things have played out, you can understand where he's coming from, and he's having to go around the media because the message hasn't gotten out. If you look back at what was going on there for several months, where everybody in Congress had been told he was not under investigation, but he kept turning on the TV every day and hearing people repeat it and repeat it and repeat it and repeat it that he was under investigation. You can imagine his frustration, and this does give him a direct link to the people to try to get the truth out. And I think he uses it pretty effectively. Yeah, I think he's revolutionized the use of social media.
Well, Bud, you worked with Jim Comey in the Justice Department. Do you think that President Trump, that was one of his issues with Comey as FBI director, is he wanted him to be publicly vindicated, as he was, or at least Comey was telling him in private, you personally are not under investigation. Was that a legitimate concern for President Trump?
Oh, it certainly was, and you know, I've conducted an investigation around public figures before, and it's a constant problem because people are paying attention and they hear that agents are out asking questions and they want to draw all kinds of conclusions, and you see it in the media, and these public officials can take a real beating without really even being part of the investigation. And it's a delicate thing for a prosecutor, because if I tell you today this governor is not under investigation, or that president, then we might interview somebody tomorrow that will implicate that person, and then that puts you in a box. It's not something we deal with in typical investigations, because people aren't paying any attention until you conclude the investigation and make a prosecution decision. So Comey was in a tough spot, and I understand his dilemma. I don't know that he understood the politics around him. He would go tell Chuck Schumer the truth behind the scenes, and Chuck Schumer would go out in public and say just the direct opposite and just beat the president up. And it was just not true what he was saying. And so did Comey have an obligation to try and help fix that? Maybe he should have told Schumer, look, I'm not going to speak publicly about this unless you lie about it publicly, and then I will. But he apparently didn't do that.
But good to see you.